The first body dropped at precisely 9:02 a.m. Not dead. Worse, emotionally compromised. "Another one down!" screamed the Royal Communications intern as a palace guard slid dramatically across the marble floor, clutching his chest. "Your Majesty's rejection rate just hit 93%. Across the throne room, Alpha King Liam Blackfang, terror of the Northern Territories, undefeated in combat, certified walking bad decision, stared at the glowing crystal screen in front of him like it had personally betrayed his ancestors. Swipe, left, swipe, left, swipe. The screen made a cheerful little ding. Profile status: critically undesirable. The court gasped as one, because this was not supposed to happen. The Kingdom of Lycanthor had just launched its brand new, extremely expensive, and deeply over-engineered royal dating platform, Moonmatch. Find your fated mate without the awkward sniffing phase, and their king was getting professionally humbled in real time. But before we continue this live public execution of one alpha male's dignity. Hey, you. Yes, you with the excellent taste in chaotic werewolf drama. If you're already feeling the secondhand embarrassment building in your bloodstream, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next emotional disaster. And tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? Because somewhere in the world right now, someone is witnessing this mess with popcorn, and I respect that deeply. All right, back to the collapse. Now, to be very clear, there was nothing wrong with Liam's profile. Objectively speaking, it was illegal to look that alpha. Or the crystal display cycled proudly through his stats. Height, intimidating build, warforged and emotionally confused. Jawline, could cut diplomatic tension territory size, yes. Hobbies, brooding, strategic dominance, aggressive forest walks. His profile photo? Devastating. Moody lighting, half-shifted eyes, cape doing something dramatic in the wind. Chad, his beta cousin and full-time enabler, had personally supervised the shoot while eating jerky and shouting things like, "Bro, look like you just conquered emotions." By all known laws of shifter attraction, this profile should have been drowning in matches. Instead, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. The rejection counter rolled upward with the cheerful enthusiasm of a device that had no respect for royal feelings. Liam's left eye twitched. "Perhaps," offered one extremely nervous advisor. "Yours, the algorithm is temporarily confused?" The crystal chimed again. A new notification appeared. Bright, cheerful, catastrophic. "Top comment on your profile." Liam leaned forward slowly. The court leaned forward with him. And there it was, posted publicly, pinned, glowing with maternal pride. From Dowager Queen Helena Blackfang. The message read, "My baby prefers soft foods and emotional reassurance. Also, he runs warm at night, so pack light." Silence fell across the throne room, the kind of silence usually reserved for battlefield mass casualties and very awkward family dinners. Then, the rejection counter began to spin. Fast. Faster. Faster. Across the kingdom, crystal phones lit up as the comment spread like weaponized gossip. Within minutes, the trending board updated. Bold. Merciless. Unforgiving. But hashtag too much mommy energy. A palace maid dropped a tray. A guard quietly turned off his notifications out of respect. Somewhere in the back, one beta whispered, Oh, that's fatal." On the throne, Liam Blackfang, apex predator, ruler of Lycanthor, feared by enemies across 3 territories, slowly leaned back and experienced what scholars would later describe as a full-body spiritual evacuation. "I," Liam said hoarsely, "am going to pass away." "You're not going to pass away," Chad said immediately, sliding into the seat beside him with the confidence of a man who had never once helped a situation in his life. "You're going to rebrand." Liam turned his head 1 inch, slowly, dangerously. "Chad," he said, with the calm of a man one inconvenience away from living in the forest permanently, "Ons, if you say anything stupid in the next 5 seconds." Chad grinned. Oh no, the grin of a beta cousin with ideas. "Bro," Chad said, slapping the crystal screen where hashtag too much mommy energy was now aggressively trending. "You don't need better photos. A beat. You need a legendary comeback." The court, sensing incoming disaster, collectively leaned back. Chad leaned forward, voice dropping, eyes sparkling with criminal encouragement. "1 week," he said. Liam narrowed his eyes. Chad smiled wider. 7 days, Chad continued, to secretly court and claim a mate. He pointed dramatically at the still glowing comment from Helena. "Without mommy finding out." Silence. Heavy. Dangerous. Absolutely stupid. Liam stared at the screen. At the hashtag. At the comment. At the rapidly declining state of his dignity. Somewhere deep in his chest, his wolf, who until this moment had been minding its business, lifted its head and made a very poor decision. Liam stood. Slowly. Regally. With the confidence of a man about to ruin his own life. "Fine," he said. The court inhaled. Chad's grin went feral. Liam cracked his neck once and delivered the most historically unwise sentence of his adult career. 1 week, the Alpha King of Lycanthor declared. "I'll get a mate." Somewhere. Very far away. Helena Blackfang paused mid-knitting, and slowly, smiled. At exactly 6:14 a.m., Alpha King Liam Blackfang attempted independence. This was his first mistake. His second mistake was announcing it out loud. "I am," Liam declared to the empty war room mirror, voice deep and resolute, "a fully autonomous adult male." The mirror, having witnessed 27 years of evidence to the contrary, it remained respectfully silent. Behind him, the royal curtains fluttered ominously. Liam did not notice. Because Liam was busy doing something extremely dangerous, planning to function without maternal supervision. 7 days. That was all he needed. 7 days to secure a mate, restore his alpha credibility, and emotionally recover from the public assassination that was hashtag too much mommy energy easy. Simple. Entirely achievable. Probably. He straightened his cloak, squared his shoulders, and strode toward the door with the determined energy of a man about to walk directly into a wall he could not yet see. The door opened, and Liam stopped. Slowly. Very slowly. Because the hallway outside his chambers looked like a lovingly curated emotional safety bunker. There were shawls. So many shawls. Folded. Stacked. Color-coded. Labeled. A small handwritten sign hung above the nearest pile. For sudden chills? Love, Mama Liam blinked. Once. Twice. "No," he said quietly. He stepped into the hallway. Immediately something chimed. Soft. Cheerful. Threatening. Liam looked down. There was a glowing rune circle etched neatly into the floor beneath his boots. It pulsed. Politely. Like it was very proud of itself. From somewhere inside the palace walls, a crystal pinged. Liam froze. "Oh, you have got to be—" Another chime. He turned his head slowly. 3 feet to his left sat a small, tastefully embroidered basket. Inside, travel snacks, emergency wet wipes, and a rolled parchment titled, "Quick Emotional Grounding Exercises for My Son." Liam closed his eyes. Breathed in, breathed out. Opened them again. There were more baskets. Every 6 feet. "Chad," Liam said with deadly calm, into the communication crystal at his wrist. "If this is your idea of emotional support—" Chad's voice crackled back immediately. "Bro, I swear on my last brain cell this was not me." Liam pinched the bridge of his nose. "Then explain," he said, gesturing at the aggressively nurturing hallway. "Why my palace currently looks like a wellness retreat for emotionally fragile bears." A pause. Then Chad, very softly. "Oh no." Liam's stomach dropped. because Chad only said, "Oh no," when something was about to become a documentary. And then, thwoomp! A small glowing portal popped open directly beside Liam's elbow. He flinched. Out of the portal dropped a neatly wrapped sandwich. It landed in his hand. Warm. Fresh. Labeled. "In case you forgot breakfast." "Love you most." Liam stared at it. The sandwich stared back, so Chad made a noise that sounded suspiciously like suppressed screaming. "Bro," Chad whispered, horrified and deeply impressed. "She installed snack portals." Liam's eye twitched. Once. Violently. "No," Liam said. Very calm. Very controlled. "We are not doing this." He turned on his heel and began deleting. Runes first. With the focus of a man fighting for his remaining dignity, Liam crouched and began systematically wiping away the glowing location sigils. 1. Gone. 2. Gone. 3. Ping. Liam froze, slowly looked at his wrist crystal. Maternal safety alert number 1. He kept scrubbing, jaw tight, dignity hanging by a thread. 4. Gone. 5. Ping. Maternal safety alert number 2. Chad inhaled sharply over the crystal line. "She's getting live updates, bro." "I am aware," Liam said through his teeth. He stood, turned, and with the grim resolve of a man choosing violence against soft furnishings, he swept his arm across the nearest shawl pile. They toppled. Dramatically. Beautifully. Like emotionally supportive dominoes. Ping. Maternal safety alert number 3. Liam grabbed the nearest snack basket. Removed it. Firmly. Ping. Maternal safety alert number 4. Chad was now fully wheezing. "Bro, she built a whole ecosystem." "I will survive it," Liam snapped. He marched forward and kicked the small snack portal. It flickered. Died. Ping. Maternal safety. Alert number 5. Silence fell. Heavy. Ominous. Liam stood in the middle of the now slightly less nurturing hallway, chest rising and falling with the fragile triumph of a man who had just fought decorative textiles and barely won. Then, ping. Liam closed his eyes. 6, Chad whispered. Across the palace, within a sunlit sitting room that smelled faintly of lavender and quiet, emotional dominance. Dowager Queen Helena Blackfang paused mid-knit. The crystal beside her chimed gently. Once, twice, 3 times. Her knitting needles slowed. By the 6th alert, they stopped completely. Helena lifted her gaze. Slowly, gracefully, with the calm of a woman who had raised an alpha and therefore feared absolutely nothing. Her eyes narrowed, just slightly. Her lips curved, not kindly, not angrily, knowingly. She picked up her tea, took one delicate sip, and said very softly, "My baby is behaving independently." A beat. A very dangerous beat. How concerning. At precisely 8:03 p.m., Alpha King Liam Blackfang made the single most optimistic mistake of his week. He believed, briefly, heroically, and with absolutely no supporting evidence, that tonight might go well. The full moon mixer glittered before him in all its aggressively curated glory. Crystal lights, slow, moody music, the low hum of eligible she-wolves pretending they did not absolutely know about #TooMuchMommyEnergy. Liam stood at the entrance, shoulders squared, cloak draped just right, jawline deployed at full diplomatic capacity. Tonight, he was not a son. Tonight, he was mystery, danger, mysterious, brooding alpha mode. Chad circled him slowly like a deeply unqualified hype coach. "Okay," Chad muttered, squinting critically. Yes, this is good. This is very emotionally unavailable. I would personally make several bad decisions." Liam exhaled slowly, centered himself, stepped into the ballroom, and... Oh, it was working. Heads turned. Whispers shifted. A small cluster of she-wolves near the punch table visibly straightened. One of them actually dropped her drink. Liam moved deeper into the room, every step measured, controlled, devastatingly alpha. For the first time in 24 humiliating hours, hope stirred. Chad leaned in, voice reverent. "Bro," he whispered. "You're cooking." Liam gave the smallest, most lethal smirk. Across the room, a few potential matches were already pretending not to look at him. One even started walking in his direction. Slow, interested, hooked. Liam's wolf lifted its head internally. Yes. Yes. This. The doors exploded open, not opened, exploded. Music screeched to a halt. Every head in the ballroom snapped towards the entrance. And there she was. Dowager Queen Helena Blackfang, bedraped head to toe in a violently sparkly rhinestone tracksuit that could probably be seen from space. Hair perfect, smile radiant, energy, maternal missile lock. Helena cupped her hands around her mouth and unleashed the phrase that would echo through Liam's nightmares for years to come. "Liam, bear, you forgot your scarf." Time stopped. Liam stopped. Chad made a noise that sounded like a soul leaving a body. The she-wolf who had been approaching Liam froze mid-step, then slowly pivoted and walked directly into a decorative plant. Helena advanced, fast, purposeful, terrifyingly cheerful. Liam stood there, rooted to the marble floor by the full crushing weight of destiny and extremely aggressive parenting. "Mother," he said very quietly, "we discussed—" Too late. So much too late, because Helena was already unrolling it. The scarf, the 6 feet of lovingly hand-knitted yarn. Soft, thick, unmistakably, shaped like an extremely enthusiastic life choice. The room inhaled as one. Helena beamed. "Oh, hush," she said brightly, already wrapping it around Liam's neck with terrifying efficiency. "You run warm, but your throat gets sensitive in moonlight." Liam's soul left his body and filed for asylum. Around the ballroom, one she-wolf choked on her drink. Another abruptly remembered an appointment that did not exist. A third simply turned and power-walked out like her survival instincts had activated. Chad leaned against the wall, wheezing into his fist. "Bro," he croaked, "it's shaped." "I know what it's shaped like, Chad," Liam whispered, eyes fixed on the middle distance. Helena finished the final flourish and stepped back proudly. Her work, her masterpiece, her fully grown alpha son, bundled like a suspiciously festive winter decoration. Mixer morale flatlined instantly. Across the room, event staff quietly began dimming the lights, like that might emotionally undo what had just happened. Helena patted Liam's cheek. "You look so handsome when you're properly insulated," she said warmly. Liam did not blink. He was no longer fully present in this dimension. Then, from a quiet table near the far wall, a pen scratched, soft, precise, observant. Dr. Mara Vexley lowered her notebook just slightly, eyes cool behind thin-framed glasses as she studied the scene unfolding in front of her. The king, the scarf, the mother, the widespread female evacuation. Her lips twitched. Not kindly, not cruelly, clinically. She wrote one final line, underlined it once, closed the notebook with calm finality. A severe maternal enmeshment, advanced stage, across the ballroom. Liam Blackfang stood motionless in 6 feet of handcrafted humiliation, and the night was only getting started. By midnight, Alpha King Liam Blackfang had made another historically questionable decision. In his defense, his dignity was already in critical condition. In his non-defense, this was still incredibly stupid. "I am," Liam announced grimly from the tree line overlooking rival pack territory, about to do something bold. Behind him, Chad squinted into the darkness. "Define bold," Liam's jaw flexed. "Romantic abduction." Silence, heavy, judgmental. A nearby owl actually stopped hooting. Chad turned slowly. "Bro," he said carefully. You mean kidnapping. Liam did not blink. I mean, he said with regal delusion, a culturally assertive courtship maneuver. Chad stared at him for a long moment. You Googled that phrase, didn't you? Focus, Liam snapped. Below them, the rival pack's evening gathering was in full swing. Guards posted, patrol routes active, multiple witnesses present like the universe itself was begging him to reconsider. Liam rolled his shoulders once, cracked his neck, activated mysterious alpha stealth mode, which, unfortunately, had never been field-tested. He dropped from the tree, landed, immediately stepped on a twig the size of a betrayal. Crack. Every guard's head snapped toward him. Liam froze mid-prowl, committed, deeply committed. Keep walking, Chad whispered from the tree like a man watching his cousin speedrun humiliation. So Liam did. Forward. Confident, absolutely not invisible. One guard narrowed his eyes. Go to your majesty? Liam raised one finger calmly. Yes, he said. Then he lunged. To be clear, the attempt had heart. It did not have grace. Within 30 seconds, Liam had knocked over one decorative torch, tripped over a low stone wall, and aggressively misjudged a landing. But he was committed. So very committed. And for one brief, shining moment, it almost worked. Then, ping. Liam froze mid-grapple. His stomach dropped. Chad's voice crackled through the wrist crystal in immediate horror. Bro! From somewhere in the distance, there came a very familiar sound. Not footsteps, not growling. Worse, the gentle pop of a portal opening. Liam closed his eyes. No, he whispered. Oh yes, Chad whispered back. The portal blossomed open right in the middle of the enemy patrol formation. Soft light. Lavender scent. And out stepped Dowager Queen Helena Blackfang, carrying 3 stacked Tupperware containers and the unstoppable energy of a woman who had opinions about everyone's digestive health. The rival guards stared. Liam stared. One poor patrol wolf whispered, Is that his mom? Helena beamed. Oh, good. Everyone's here, she said brightly. You all look terribly underfed. Before anyone could react, she advanced, with purpose, with love, with banana bread. Now, Helena continued, already opening containers with terrifying efficiency. No one makes good decisions on an empty stomach. A guard tried to step back. Helena caught his wrist gently, firmly. Maternal grip strength. Elite. Sweetheart, when was the last time you had fiber? She asked. The guard broke instantly. I don't know. I thought so, Helena said knowingly, and already pressing a thick slice of banana bread into his hand. Across the clearing. One guard sniffled. Another sat down abruptly on a rock. A third accepted a napkin and began quietly rethinking his life. Chad was fully folded over in silent hysterics from the tree. Liam stood in the center of the emotional food distribution zone, soul hovering approximately 3 inches outside his body. Mother, he said, voice hollow, how did you find me? Helena smiled serenely. Oh, Liam Bear, she said, tapping her temple. You disabled 6 safety measures this morning. Honestly, what did you think was going to happen? He did not have an answer. Because there was no answer. There was only banana bread. And humiliation. And a quiet voice from the edge of the clearing. Fascinating. Liam turned. Slowly. There, but standing just beyond the circle of maternal devastation, was Dr. Mara Vexley. Arms folded. Expression calm. Eyes sharp behind her glasses as she surveyed. The failed abduction, the emotionally compromised guards, the Dowager Queen running an unsolicited nutrition seminar, and the Alpha King currently reconsidering every life choice that led him here. Mara tilted her head slightly, studied him. Not with awe, not with fear, with professional interest. Liam's wolf stirred, confused, concerned. Mara stepped forward 1 pace, 2, stopped just within conversational range. Her voice, when she spoke, was cool, measured, devastatingly composed. "You," she said calmly, "require professional intervention." Liam straightened instinctively, blinking. Hope, misguided, deeply incorrect hope, flickered across his face. "You think so?" he said. Mara held his gaze, completely serious, completely unimpressed. "Yes," she said. A beat. "I do." Behind him, Chad made a strangled noise, because Liam Blackfang, Alpha King, territorial apex predator, current banana bread adjacent disaster, was absolutely, catastrophically convinced she was flirting. She was not. By the following evening, Alpha King Liam Blackfang had reached what scholars would later classify as peak overconfidence with zero supporting evidence. This was a dangerous emotional altitude, because Liam had made a discovery, a terrible, life-altering discovery. Dr. Mara Vexley had not run away screaming. In Liam's current psychological condition, this counted as romantic momentum. "Bro," Chad said cautiously as they paced Liam's study, "I am begging you to think this through." "I am thinking," Liam said, or which was already the first red flag. "No," Chad said immediately. "You are pacing aggressively and radiating bad decisions. That is not the same thing." Liam stopped, turned, eyes burning with the misplaced confidence of a man about to emotionally trip over his own feet. "She said I required intervention," Liam said. Chad stared. Slowly. "Yes," Chad said carefully. Liam nodded once, grim, certain. "So I will intervene," he declared. Chad opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "How?" Liam reached for the Raven scroll. Chad inhaled sharply. Oh no. 10 minutes later, Liam sat at his desk, pen in hand, dignity hanging by a thread. He had fought wars, negotiated treaties, intimidated entire enemy coalitions. And yet, nothing in his extensive alpha training had prepared him for flirting. The blank parchment stared back at him, mocking, judgmental, emotionally hostile. Liam began to write, paused, crossed something out aggressively, tried again. Chad leaned slowly over his shoulder, read the first line, immediately covered his face. "Bro," Liam bristled. "What?" Chad inhaled through his teeth. "You cannot," Chad said gently, like he was diffusing a magical bomb. "Open with scent commentary and end with an ellipsis of emotional confusion." Liam scowled. "It is mysterious." "It is concerning," Chad corrected. Liam ignored him and continued writing with the confidence of a man who absolutely should not be allowed near romantic correspondence. Finally, with a sharp, decisive motion, he sealed the scroll, tied it to the Raven's leg, and released it into the night. Chad watched the bird disappear into the darkness, whispered a prayer. "For the kingdom," he muttered. Unfortunately. The Raven did not reach Dr. Mara Vexley first, because at precisely 7:42 p.m., in the middle of the royal state dinner, attended by 3 foreign delegations, 2 trade ministers, and 1 extremely nervous ambassador, Dowager Queen Helena Blackfang's crystal chimed. She glanced down, paused, brows lifting slightly. "Oh," Helena said pleasantly. Across the table, Liam froze mid-sip, because he knew that tone. He knew that tone the way prey animals know distant thunder. Helena lifted the intercepted scroll delicately between 2 fingers, smiled, warm, radiant, deeply catastrophic. "My goodness," she said, "is this correspondence?" The entire diplomatic table went still. Liam set his goblet down very slowly. "Mother," he said carefully, "perhaps we could—" Too late. So much too late. Helena cleared her throat and began to read. Your scent makes my wolf want to... She paused, brows knitting slightly. Oh dear. Across the table, one ambassador stopped chewing entirely. Another slowly reached for his wine like he was preparing for impact. Helena squinted at the parchment. Then, because the universe enjoys suffering, she reached for a red ink pen. Click. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Helena leaned forward and began editing. Right there. At the state dinner, in front of multiple nations, murmuring thoughtfully as she worked. No, this lacks conviction. Scratch, scratch. Oh, and we definitely need stronger emotional projection here. More scratching. Liam had entered full spiritual dissociation. He was no longer fully inside his body, but he was floating somewhere above the diplomatic table, watching his life collapse in high definition. Finally, Helena nodded with satisfaction and read the revised version aloud, brightly, proudly. Needs more growling, darling. Silence detonated across the table. One diplomat physically slid down in his chair. Another began staring very hard at the centerpiece, like it might open a portal to a safer reality. Chad, seated halfway down the table, had folded completely in half and was making small wheezing noises into his napkin. Helena folded the edited parchment neatly, beamed. Oh, this is much better, she said. Then, with the calm efficiency of a woman who had never once doubted her administrative access, she sent it. 3 hours later, Dr. Mara Vexley sat at her desk, reading, very slowly, very carefully. Her expression did not change, or not once. She reached the red ink note at the bottom, paused, adjusted her glasses. Then she did something far more dangerous than laughing. She opened her scheduling book, turned one page, picked up her pen, and wrote with calm, clinical precision. Patient. Liam Blackfang. Appointment mandatory. The next evening, Liam Blackfang arrived exactly 7 minutes early, freshly pressed, suspiciously well-groomed, carrying the cautious optimism of a man who believed, against all available evidence, that he was about to attend a date. He knocked. The door opened. Dr. Mara Vexley stood there, calm, composed, holding a clipboard. She looked at him once, up, down, clinically. Good, she said, stepping aside. Your therapy session begins now. Liam blinked. Once. Twice. Behind his eyes, something important quietly collapsed. It was extremely not a date. If humiliation were fatal, Alpha King Liam Blackfang would have been buried with full military honors 3 days ago. Instead, he was sitting in a chair that was too soft, too beige, too emotionally threatening. Across from him, Dr. Mara Vexley flipped open a notebook with the calm, measured energy of a woman who had professionally witnessed grown men cry over scented candles. Liam narrowed his eyes. Before we begin, he rumbled, leaning back like he was auditioning for Brooding Idiot Monthly. You should know I don't usually do talking. Mara didn't even blink. Yes, she said smoothly. Your file screamed that at me. Liam paused. His wolf lifted its head. Wolf, internally. She's funny. Abort mission. He straightened aggressively. I am here, he declared. It's because of a misunderstanding. Mara wrote something down. The scratching of her pen sounded judgmental. What? Liam said slowly. Are you writing? Without looking up, she replied, Subject displays early-stage defensive posturing, possibly allergic to self-awareness. Liam short-circuited. Visibly, there was an actual physical buffering pause in the Alpha King of Lycanthur. I am not allergic, he said finally, voice tight. Mara looked up and smiled, not warmly, not kindly, clinically. Oh, Alpha Blackfang, she said softly. We're going to have so much to unpack." 15 minutes later, Liam's dignity is fighting for its life. Mara steepled her fingers. "Let's begin with something simple," she said. "Tell me about your mother." Liam's spine locked like a medieval drawbridge. "My mother," he said carefully, "who is a respected former Alpha Queen." Mara nodded. "And how often," she asked pleasantly, "does this respected former Alpha Queen enter your private chambers unannounced?" Silence. Thick, violent, spiritually loud. "Occasionally," Liam muttered. Her pen moved again. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Liam's eye twitched. "What?" he ground out. "Are you writing now?" Mara turned the notebook slightly so he could see. Severe maternal enmeshment. Advanced stage. Liam made a noise. Not a growl, not a word. Something deeply ancestral and emotionally compromised. Mara leaned forward slightly. Voice calm, precise, merciless. "Your mother, Alpha Blackfang, is a high-functioning boundary violation." The room went silent. Not normal silent. Oh no, he's about to shift silent. Liam's wolf slammed into the walls of his ribcage. His pupils blew wide, but his fingers dug into the armrests. "Take that back," he said hoarsely. Mara held his gaze, unblinking, unimpressed, unafraid, for the first time in Liam Blackfang's extremely dramatic life. Someone was not. Intimidated. And dear moon above, his wolf was absolutely losing its mind about it. "Wolf," Feral whisper. "We like her." Liam internally fell down a flight of emotional stairs. Mara calmly tore a sheet from her notebook, slid it across the table. "Your assignment," she said, "is to go 48 hours without responding to maternal interference." Liam stared at the paper like it had personally insulted his ancestors. "That," he said slowly, "is not a real medical task." Mara folded her hands. "Neither," she replied sweetly, "is panic sprinting to your mother every time she sighs dramatically within a 5-mile radius." Liam growled. Unlow. Dangerous. Automatic. Mara immediately wrote it down. Subject growls when emotionally cornered. Noted. He stopped mid-growl. "Did you just—" "Yes." "I was asserting dominance." "No," Mara said gently. "You were coping loudly." Liam Blackfang experienced what scholars would later classify as an internal system failure. Something changed. Subtle. Dangerous. Fascinating. Because instead of storming out, instead of posturing, instead of doing literally anything his pride usually demanded, Liam leaned forward slightly, eyes sharp, voice lower. "You're not afraid of me." Mara met his gaze evenly. "No," she said. Simple, clean, final. And for the first time in this entire catastrophic week, Alpha King Liam Blackfang was interested, not annoyed, not offended, interested. Wolf, thrilled. "Oh, this is terrible for us. 3 corridors away, in the Dowager Queen's private solar—" Queen Helena Blackfang paused mid-scrapbook. Her eyes narrowed slowly. Very slowly. Across the room, 6 different surveillance runes lit up at once. Location breach, emotional irregularity, unauthorized personal growth detected. Helena went very still. "My baby," she murmured softly, sweetly, terrifyingly, "went to therapy." Silence fell over the entire wing of the palace. Servants froze. Betas stopped breathing. Somewhere in the distance, a warning bell rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Helena Blackfang smiled. And the kingdom, unfortunately for everyone involved, was about to suffer. The Dowager Queen. Helena Blackfang did not do anything halfway. If she was going to emotionally destabilize her son, she was going to commit. It began at precisely 10:07 a.m. Helena clutched her chest, gasped dramatically, and fell onto the fainting couch like a woman auditioning for Tragic Widow of the Year Extended Edition. "Oh," she wheezed, one hand delicately flung skyward. "My poor, fragile heart." 3 nearby maids screamed. One guard dropped his spear. The palace physician, who had been through this before, closed his eyes briefly and whispered, "Not again." But protocol was protocol. Within seconds, alarm bells rang. Servants sprinted. Black mourning drapes were deployed with concerning efficiency. The palace went into full emotional DEFCON. In her bedchamber, Helena adjusted her pillows, checked her lighting, tilted her chin. Then, with the serene confidence of a woman who had absolutely weaponized motherhood, she hit Go Live. Across the kingdom, crystal screens flickered. #proud. Mama began trending before she even fake coughed. Helena dabbed delicately at the corner of her eye. "If my darling Liam sees this," she whispered weakly to the camera, "tell him. Mama loves him." She paused. Perfectly. Timed. And that he should really be answering his messages. The viewer count exploded. 47 minutes later. The doors to Helena's chambers slammed open. Liam Blackfang burst in like a man who had spiritually left his body somewhere around Corridor 3. Hair disheveled, eyes wild, emotional stability completely missing. "Mother." He stopped dead. Because Helena was sitting upright, perfect posture, silk robe immaculate, eating bonbons, watching him, live stream still rolling. The silence that followed was so violent it deserved its own historical record. Liam blinked. Once, twice, but his voice came out strangled. "You were dying." Helena popped another bonbon into her mouth. "Oh, sweetheart," she said gently. "I was concerned." Somewhere in the kingdom, the hashtag Alpha Down Bad began to trend. From the far side of the room, a calm voice spoke. "Your blood pressure is normal." Liam turned and froze. Dr. Mara Vexley stood near the window, tablet in hand, posture relaxed in that deeply unsettling way she had. She looked between mother and son, then sighed very quietly. "Fascinating," she murmured. Helena's eyes sharpened instantly. Predator instincts didn't retire with the crown. They just got better accessories. The room changed temperature, subtly, dangerously. Helena smiled. Warm, polite, absolutely loaded. "And you must be," the Dowager Queen said smoothly. "The therapist." Mara met her gaze without flinching. "Und yes." A beat. Then, calmly, "You're a high-functioning boundary violation." The maids collectively stopped breathing. A guard made a small, choking noise. Liam Blackfang, Alpha King of Lycanthor, experienced a full internal system crash. Helena's smile did not move, which was, frankly, more terrifying than if she had shifted on the spot. "Oh," Helena said sweetly. Very sweetly. Dangerously sweetly. "I like her." Wolf, internally screaming. "We are in danger." Helena finally turned her attention back to Liam. Her expression softened. Weaponized maternal mode. Fully engaged. "My poor baby," she cooed, reaching out to pat his cheek on live broadcast. "You came running so fast. Did you even hydrate?" Liam made a sound that could legally qualify as soul damage. "Mother." Helena hummed, already adjusting the camera angle. "Careful. On, darling. The kingdom is watching." Viewer count doubled. Somewhere Chad was absolutely screen recording. Helena's gaze slid back to Mara, measured, curious, predatory. Mara, infuriatingly, just kept typing notes. Tap, tap, tap. Helena's smile widened. Too pleasant, too calm, too intentional. "Oh," the Dowager Queen said softly. "This is going to be fun." Across the room, Mara finally looked up, met her eyes, and smiled back. Not sweet, not polite, professional. Ready. The air between them crackled. Because everyone in that room, from the trembling maids to the emotionally compromised Alpha King, understood one simple, terrible truth. War had officially begun. The first sign that something had gone catastrophically wrong with the universe was that Dr. Mara Vexley agreed to see him again, recreationally. But Liam Blackfang reread the message 6 times, then a 7th for spiritual verification. I will continue observation in a controlled social environment. He stared at it, blinking slowly. That's a yes, he whispered hoarsely. Across the room, Chad, who had materialized like the human embodiment of bad decisions, snatched the scroll. Read it. Looked at Liam. Looked back at the scroll. Then inhaled like a man about to witness history. Bro, Chad said reverently, you accidentally pulled the emotionally unavailable final boss? By the time Liam arrived at the cafe courtyard, he had changed outfits 3 times, practiced breathing like a man who definitely understood feelings, and aggressively Googled how to be normal during courtship. It had not helped. Mara was already seated when he arrived. Calm, composed, yet reviewing notes like she was about to audit his soul. Liam sat, carefully, like sudden movements might void the moment. You came, he said. Immediately regretted how that sounded. Mara looked up, flat, observant. Yes, she said. I am conducting ongoing behavioral analysis. A pause. Then, almost as an afterthought, you may consider this recreational. Liam's wolf did a full backflip off the emotional balcony. Wolf, internally. Hope? Is this hope? We are not trained for hope, for the first time in his deeply supervised adult life. Liam Blackfang smiled like a man who might actually survive his own romantic storyline. Unfortunately, Helena Blackfang did not raise an alpha for decades without developing maternal surveillance instincts bordering on supernatural. At exactly 2:14 p.m., she paused mid-scrapbooking, narrowed her eyes, then slowly turned toward the nearest emotional disturbance. My baby, she murmured softly, is experiencing unsupervised joy. Across the kingdom, 6 separate alert runes lit up. Helena stood, smooth, graceful, absolutely preparing for psychological warfare. Oh, she said gently, we cannot have that. The first package arrived 30 minutes later. Liam opened it cautiously. Inside, matching mother-son pajamas, hand-embroidered, with tiny smiling moons, and the words, World's Best Boy Mara, seated across from him, watched with clinical fascination. Liam aged 5 years instantly. Burn it, he whispered. Chad, from behind a decorative plant, whispered back, Too late, bro. She monogrammed your childhood nickname on the sleeves. Liam made a sound usually associated with wounded wildlife. The next morning, a courier delivered a velvet box. Inside, 27 baby photos, categorized, labeled, chronologically indexed. Mara picked one up, studied it. Interesting, she said calmly. Liam tried to die. You had a dinosaur face. I was 3, he croaked. Mara flipped to the next photo. Your mother documented your first tantrum in 3 separate angles. I was emotionally expressive, Mara finished. Then she looked up, eyes sharp, analytical, dangerously thoughtful, and Liam realized, too late, far too late. Dr. Mara Vexley was not overwhelmed. She was engaging. Sunday, 11:02 a.m. Liam arrived at the cafe, Mara beside him, hope alive and fragile, and then Helena Blackfang rose gracefully from their reserved table, already seated, already smiling, already weaponized. Oh, Helena beamed. What a coincidence. It was not. In any universe. Liam's soul left his body and filed for emotional asylum. Mara did not flinch, did not retreat, did not blink. Instead, she pulled out her chair, sat down smoothly, folded her hands, and smiled, calm, pleasant, lethally polite. Helena, Mara said warmly. Bestie. Helena's eye twitched, just once, small, violent, contained. The air pressure in the cafe dropped 3 degrees. Chad, watching from a safe distance, whispered, Oh, this is about to be a blood sport. Helena leaned forward slowly. Smile still sweet, still perfect, still absolutely loaded. "Well," the Dowager Queen said softly, "isn't this interesting?" Across the table, Mara smiled back, unbothered, unmoved, engaged, and Liam Blackfang, Alpha King, war hero, or to emotionally unprepared adult male, realized with dawning horror and fragile, terrified hope, he had accidentally acquired a girlfriend, and the two most dangerous women in Lycanthor were now making direct eye contact. By Tuesday morning, the kingdom of Lycanthor had quietly accepted one unavoidable truth. This was no longer a family matter. This was a competitive sport. Odds boards appeared in taverns, betting pools formed in the barracks. One particularly bold baker introduced a pastry called Maternal Tension Twist. At the center of it all, Alpha King Liam Blackfang had not known peace in 72 hours. It started innocently, which is to say, Helena had absolutely planned it. Liam pulled on his boots during morning drills and immediately frowned. "Why do my socks feel monitored?" Across the courtyard, Helena sipped tea with the serene expression of a woman who had absolutely hidden GPS trackers in her son's footwear. "Just motherly intuition, darling." Unfortunately for her, Mara Vexley was already crouched beside Liam with the calm focus of a bomb technician. Tap, slide, extract. She held up the tiny rune chip between two fingers. "Amateur placement," Mara said mildly. Helena's smile tightened by approximately 2 millimeters. Mara then, without breaking eye contact, pulled out a small case and upgraded the tracker. Cleaner, encrypted, professionally humiliating. "There," Mara said pleasantly. "Now if he wanders, we'll both know." Helena's teacup clicked sharply into its saucer. Point. Mara. Liam reconsidered every life choice that had led him here. Helena escalated. Naturally. The invitation arrived embossed, perfumed, and deeply suspicious. Intimate family supper. Liam should have known. He did know. He went anyway, because at this point his survival instincts had been legally declared missing. The dining hall doors opened, and Liam stopped walking. "Mother," he said faintly. Helena beamed from the head of the table, surrounded by, not 10, not 20, but 47 Blackfang relatives, all smiling, all watching, all emotionally nosy. "Oh good," Helena chirped. "You brought your observer." Mara entered beside him, took one look at the crowd, and smiled slowly. Dessert had just been served when Mara reached calmly into her satchel. Liam felt the universe tilt. She withdrew, a neatly bound presentation booklet, title page, healthy boundaries, a beginner's guide. The entire table went silent. Helena blinked once. Slowly, Mara began distributing copies. One, by one, by one. Cousin Greg started sweating. Aunt Velmira whispered, "Oh, this feels confrontational." Helena's smile sharpened. "Doctor," she said smoothly, "how educational." Mara folded her hands, serene, deadly. "Thank you," she said. "I believe in early intervention." Point. Mara. Liam briefly considered faking his own death. Helena struck back within 24 hours. Liam was dragged, emotionally and physically, to the Royal Serenity Spa. Candles everywhere, soft music, maternal menace in the air. Helena reclined gracefully. "Oh, Liam," she cooed. "You look tense." He looked like a man being slowly erased by fate. But Mara simply reached into her bag. Again. Helena's eye twitched preemptively. Out came color-coded emotional charts, large ones, laminated, weaponized. Mara pinned one to the wall. "Since we're relaxing," she said calmly, "let's discuss emotional differentiation." 3 spa attendants quietly requested transfers. Helena's smile did not move, but the candle flames around the room flickered in fear. Point. Mara. Narrow margin. Twice. He tried twice. Attempt 1. Liam shifted mid-corridor and bolted for the forest. Outcome, intercepted by Helena's emergency snack portal. He tripped over a basket of fortified muffins. Dignity lost. Attempt 2. He attempted to hide in the War Council chamber. Outcome, Mara was already there, with paperwork and eye contact. He surrendered immediately. By Thursday, the entire kingdom was watching. Betting sheets circulated. Current odds: Helena Blackfang 2-1, Mara Vexley even odds, Liam Blackfang's sanity legally declared endangered. But Chad was selling commentary scrolls. Business was booming. That evening, a royal announcement echoed through Lycanthor. Clear, formal, ominous. The Royal Moon Gala will commence in 3 days. Silence fell across the capital, because everyone, from palace guards to tavern gamblers to one deeply stressed Alpha King, felt it in their bones. Helena smiled softly. Mara adjusted her notes, and somewhere deep in the universe, the Chaos Engine purred. Violence was coming. The Royal Moon Gala did not begin. It descended. By sunset, Lycanthor's grand ballroom had transformed into a glittering arena of political maneuvering, social ambition, and extremely well-dressed emotional instability. Crystal chandeliers blazed overhead. Moonlight poured through the high-arched windows. The string musicians played with the tight posture of people who had heard the rumors and updated their wills accordingly, because everyone knew. Tonight wasn't about diplomacy. Tonight wasn't about alliances. Tonight was about watching 2 apex predators politely attempt to emotionally assassinate each other in couture. And at the center of the impending disaster, Alpha King Liam Blackfang stood near the entrance, adjusting his cuffs for the 7th time and radiating the spiritual energy of a man who had made several catastrophic life choices in rapid succession. Behind him, Chad leaned against a marble pillar, already eating gala shrimp like he had personally sponsored the chaos. "Bro," Chad murmured, watching the crowd gather, "I just want you to know, historically speaking, this is how empires fall." Liam did not look at him. "I am aware." His wolf, meanwhile, was pacing internally like a creature that had seen the future and was deeply opposed to it. Wolf, internally. "We could still fake our death. There is time. There is always time. There was not." Because the doors opened and the room shifted. Helena Blackfang did not walk into rooms. She arrived. The Dowager Queen swept into the ballroom in a gown of deep midnight silk, the fabric catching candlelight like she had personally negotiated with darkness for better lighting. Diamonds at her throat. Smile perfectly calibrated, eyes already scanning for weaknesses. The nobles bowed instinctively. Half the room straightened like prey animals sensing movement in tall grass. Helena's gaze landed immediately on Liam. Her expression softened into something dangerously maternal. "Oh, mein sweetheart," she called gently across the ballroom, loud enough for at least 4 political factions to hear. "You remembered to hydrate before the event, didn't you?" Several duchesses inhaled sharply. Chad made a choking noise into his shrimp. Liam closed his eyes briefly, like a man requesting spiritual patience from any available deity. "Good evening, Mother." Helena beamed. Strike One had been deployed. 3 minutes later, the ballroom doors opened again, and the temperature dropped. Dr. Mara Vexley entered with the calm, precise energy of someone who had absolutely read the room dynamics in advance and color-coded them. Her gown was elegant but understated. Professional. Weaponized restraint in fabric form. She walked to Liam's side without hesitation. Without nerves. Without the slightest hint of intimidation. Helena watched her approach, still smiling, but the air between them sharpened. Predator. Recognizing predator. The first hour of the gala passed in a blur of polite conversation and extremely aggressive eye contact. Helena deployed compliments that felt suspiciously like surveillance. Mara responded with observations that sounded dangerously like diagnoses. Liam stood between them like a historically significant stress fracture. Examples included, Helena, sweetly. Mara, dear, you must tell me how you stay so composed. It's admirable. Mara, pleasantly. Years of managing high-intensity emotional environments, you'd be surprised what one adapts to. Helena's smile, sharpened by 3%. Helena. Liam was such a sensitive pup growing up. Mara. That explains his advanced resilience markers. Helena's eye. Small twitch. Helena. We're very close in this family. Mara. Yes, I've documented the proximity. The nearby ambassador quietly excused himself and relocated to another continent. By the time the orchestra shifted into a waltz, the tension had reached such density that several candles began flickering in self-defense. Chad was openly taking notes. I'm telling you, he whispered to a nearby guard, this is gold. Pure gold. Meanwhile, Helena smoothly intercepted a passing servant and handed Liam a neatly folded cloth. My darling, you have a small spot on your sleeve. There was no spot. There had never been a spot. Mara saw it instantly. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Then, she reached forward, calm, unbothered, and brushed an invisible speck from Liam's shoulder. There, Mara said mildly. Environmental particulate are resolved. Helena's smile froze for exactly half a second. The ballroom gasped internally. It happened during dinner. Because of course it did. The long banquet tables glittered under candlelight. Nobles chatted in carefully controlled tones. Somewhere, a violinist played with the nervous intensity of a man who had witnessed too much. And then, a footman approached Liam's place setting, holding a knife, pre-cutting the steak. Helena's doing. Obviously. The room leaned in, not visibly, but spiritually. Liam stared at the plate, then at the knife, then slowly, very slowly, something inside the Alpha King of Lycanthor snapped, not violently, not dramatically, but decisively. Liam inhaled, exhaled, then lifted his hand. Thank you, he told the footman calmly, and took the knife himself. The movement was small, precise, adult, on the blade pressed into the steak, cut cleanly through, across the ballroom. Conversation died. Forks paused mid-air. One noble actually dropped a goblet. Helena went very, very still, because her son, her carefully supervised, emotionally monitored, snack-supported son, had just cut his own steak, without supervision, without prompting, without maternal clearance forms. Liam set the knife down, looked at his mother. His voice, when he spoke, was steady, respectful, but unmistakably adult. Mother, he said gently, I love you. Helena blinked. Once. I know you do, she replied automatically. Liam continued, but I need you to let me handle some things on my own. Silence detonated across the table. Somewhere in the back, Chad whispered, Oh my God, he's doing it. Liam straightened slightly. Not aggressive. Not cruel. I'm just finally grounded. I am not abandoning you, he said. I am just growing. Helena's fingers tightened slightly around her wine glass. For the first time in this entire catastrophic saga, the Dowager Queen looked shaken. Beside him, Mara was very quiet, watching, assessing, and, though she would absolutely deny it under oath, impressed. Her voice was soft when she spoke. That, she said calmly, was a healthy boundary expression. Liam felt powerful, terrifyingly powerful, like a man who had just discovered he possessed emotional kneecaps. His wolf howled internally. Wolf, we are evolving. This is alarming, for approximately 4 seconds. Alpha King Liam Blackfang stood in his power. It lasted exactly 4 seconds. Because Helena Blackfang was many things. Dramatic, overbearing, emotionally omnipresent. but she was not easily defeated. The Dowager Queen slowly set down her glass. Her expression softened. Not wounded, not angry, just thoughtful. "Oh," Helena said quietly. "My baby is growing up." The words were gentle, warm, terrifyingly calm. Chad immediately backed up 3 steps, because he had survival instincts. Dinner resumed, conversation slowly returned. The gala continued. Outwardly, everything appeared fine. But Liam had learned something important about his mother over the years. It was never the dramatic moments you had to fear. It was the quiet ones. Across the table, Helena reached calmly into her elegant evening bag and withdrew knitting needles. Liam froze. "No," he whispered. Soft yarn appeared next. Small. Very small. Helena began to knit. Click, click, click. Each stitch neat, precise, suspiciously tiny. Bemara leaned slightly toward Liam, voice low. "What is she making?" Liam stared in dawning horror. "I don't know." The needles clicked again. Soft, relentless, maternal. Helena smiled sweetly across the table, eyes glittering, patient, unbothered. Because the truth settled heavily into Liam Blackfang's bones. He had not won. He had merely survived. By midnight, the Royal Moon Gala would be remembered as the night the Alpha cut his own stake, the evening passive aggression. Became a performance art, and the moment Lycanthor realized the Blackfang family drama was nowhere near finished. Because somewhere in the palace, the Dowager Queen kept knitting, and the stitches were getting very, very small. 3 days after the Royal Moon Gala, Lycanthor entered what historians would later classify as suspicious quiet, which, in the Blackfang household, was never to be trusted. Liam Blackfang sat on the palace balcony at sunrise, looking almost relaxed. Almost. Beside him, Mara Vexley sipped her tea with the calm focus of a woman who had successfully introduced therapeutic structure into a previously unsupervised ecosystem. Below them, the capital bustled normally again. No public maternal ambushes, no emergency snack portals, no surprise brunch offensives. For 72 consecutive hours. Liam exhaled slowly. "Do you think," he said carefully, "we may have reached a stable equilibrium?" Mara considered this. Clinically. "Define stable." He opened his mouth, closed it. Fair. From somewhere behind them, soft, familiar knitting needles clicked. Click, click, click. Liam's eyes closed. "She's on the balcony, isn't she?" Mara took another serene sip of tea. "Oh, yes." He did not turn around. He did not need to. Helena Blackfang sat 10 feet away in a sun-drenched chair, smiling peacefully while working on something small. Very small, suspiciously coordinated. There was a long pause. Then Helena spoke sweetly. "Oh, don't mind me, darlings. I'm just preparing for the future." Mara's lips twitched. Liam stared at the horizon like a man who now understood the true meaning of endurance. Because in Lycanthor, love might conquer many things, but mothers with hobbies, those were forever. The end, probably.